Hello crafty friends, I'm back today for the Not Too Shabby shop. I am loving this Happy Halloween stamp set. It's a Not Too Shabby original. Jamie makes her own clear stamps as well as digital. Plus, she has most of my favorite companies there, so it is a one-stop shopping experience. For today's card, I am using Jamie's Happy Halloween set. And I'm also using Pumpkin Patch by Honeybee Stamps. I love both of these. I inked up the stamps with Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink, which is Copic marker friendly, onto a heavyweight cardstock. And now I'm going to start coloring up these pumpkins. I'm only going to show you one because I did them all the same. So I'm laying down my first color, YR15, and just putting it where I'm going to put my shadows. And this is called shadow mapping, and it also helps blend the colors together when you layer them on top of one another. And next is my medium tone, which is YR16, and I'm just going back on the same spots that I did with the YR15, but I'm also adding a little bit extra, bringing it down just a little bit, and now I'm going back on again with my darkest tone, which is YR18, and I'm gonna again drag that out just a little bit. And I'm just going to work in layers, and that way the ink is getting into the fibers of the paper, and you can get a better blend that way. So it's going to be pretty saturated. And now I'm going back again with Y16. I just wanted to pull down a little bit more of that Y18, smooth that out a little bit. And now with my YR15. And the good thing about this is that this marker is still quite juicy, so that definitely helps with blending. See, I'm just trying to get a little definition, a little bit of highlights and shadows. And I'm definitely not a perfect colorist. I'm working on it though. The more you do, the better you get, just like with everything. YR16 now, just to pull it out again a little bit. And like I said, I just keep working in layers. I keep going back, adding more. Even with the same color with Copic markers, if you add more than one layer, you will get a different color. So each layer does make a difference. And of course, when it dries, it changes just slightly. I'm just pulling that Y16 out again a little bit. I enjoy this. I enjoy the process of just the layers of coloring. And now blending it all back out with YR15 one more time. See, and I showed you the saturation on the back, which that means that it's working. You should see a little bit of your Copic marker in the back of your cardstock. Now I'm just using a couple of YGs, 63 and 67, and I wanted to make it match the little vines that I stamped out, which I use Alta New Crisp Dye inks and Just Green and Sweet Leaf for those. And a shout out to my friend Stacy. She does Color Street nails, and I love them. These are my Halloween set. I don't always get a chance to do my nails, and since the virus hit, I haven't been to I haven't gotten a mani or a pedi, so I've been just doing them at home, and I think that they look pretty good and festive. So just shout out to my friend. We've been best friends since we were 4. So hi, Stace. All right, and back to our card. I am doing up this sweet little candy corn, and I wanted to do yellow at the bottom, orange in the middle, and white at the top. So I'm using my Y's for this. Y15, Y16, actually Y15, Y18, and Y19. And now for the orange, I'm using the same exact oranges that I used for my pumpkins. And just working that out on the edges, trying to get a little contour in the middle of his face. And again, just working in layers. And then I'm going to do those sweet little cheeks in an R20. And I just wanted to put a little shadow in there, and I just used my C0 marker. And I'm going to do the hat in warm grays for the candy corn. And on my witch, I'm going to use a cooler gray. I like to change it up a little bit. And so these are my W5, W7, and W9. Just get that warm gray-ish look. And again, just working in layers. and mapping out those shadows and then pulling down the ink. I like to go light, medium, dark, back to medium sometimes, and then light again. I'm going to do the buckle in just a very simple Y15. And then there's the little cheeks. And now I'm going to do a purple. And these are my go-to purples, Y12, Y17, or Y12, or Y, V. V is what I'm trying to say. V12, V15, and V17 are my go-to purple combinations. I think as we use them more often, Copic markers, I find that probably everybody has their little favorite combinations. I really need to get those all written out on some sort of, I don't know, some sort of swatch thing that I can just get to my own go-tos, because sometimes I forget. Isn't that something? Yeah. I forget which ones I like or which ones worked really well for one card. So if I was just organized, like I dream of organization. Do any of you dream of being an organized person? I try. And then, I have 10 other things that I have to do before I can do things like swatch out my Copic markers. But anyway, I'm using cool grays for her little outfit. I wanted her all to match her hat, her dress, and her shoes. And I'm just coloring it the same exact way that I did the candy corn, except that I'm using cool grays instead of warm. So let me talk a little bit more about Not Too Shabby. She is doing monthly guest spots design team challenges, which is super cool. So she puts up a mood board on her blog. I'll have that linked below, and you can submit a card. And before November 12th, submit your project or your card. And there are 2 spots available, one for YouTube and one for Instagram. So if you win the challenge this month, you can be December's guest designer for Not Too Shabby. How cool is that? Plus, I absolutely love doing challenges. It gets you out of your creative slump if you're in one. It makes you think outside your box. It just gets you going, and especially having a deadline to submit it, it also gets you creating. So anyway, go ahead and check that out. I will have it linked below. And now we're working on the hair, and I decided that the switch needed purple hair this time. So I'm using my go-to purple colors again, the V12, V15, and V17. Just layering those on. Yeah, isn't that fun? I wish I could get away with some purple hair. I think it's kind of cool. Now moving on to her buckle, just a simple Y15, and then the little color spot on the hat. And I'm doing those in greens along with her tights. We're going to do some purple stripes and some green stripes. And green or G03 and G05 are what I'm using for my greens. Just a 2 color. Those are such small spots that a lot of times with small spots you just need a couple colors. And then for her face, we're going to make her skin tone E21, map out those shadows again, E11, and then R02 for the darkest color. And then just go and smooth those back out. Now for these little acorns, I did E21, E23, E25 with just a little dot of E29 on those stems on the top. I'm going to use the same colors that I did the acorns onto the broomstick as well. And now I'm just going back with my colorless blender, the 0, as you could see back there, and just touching up any little spot that may have come out of the line. So you can push that ink right back in with a little bit of colorless blender. It does work pretty well. If you get a big spot, sometimes it's hard and you have to just keep working at it, letting it dry in between. But most of the time with a small spot, you can just go and clean it up pretty easily. Just some Y's, the Y15, Y18, and 19 again for that star. Now we're all colored, and I cut everything out with my Brother Scan and Cut. And now I'm going to start working on my card panel. Now for the sky, I'm using Distress Oxide ink in Tumbled glass. And for the bottom, for the lawn or the grass, I'm using Mowed lawn. So I'm just going to blend this out. And my tumbled glass is sadly getting a little dry. It's definitely my go-to sky color, so I use it the most. So I have to order a Reinker, and I'm actually having a hard time finding some right now. It seems that everybody's using tumbled glass. It is a good color. So I would just take my time and I add a lot of layers, going back and forth, making sure I get a smooth blend. And then flipping it over. I was trying to decide right there how low I should go with my pumpkin patch and my sky. So I decided that most of that center is going to be covered anyway, so I don't have to really worry about a perfect blend between the grass and the sky. I'm going to have those pumpkins laid out right along the center. So now just adding a little bit of the mowed lawn at the bottom. Again, working with Distress Oxide is so nice because it does blend really, really well. It goes on pretty smooth. I'm just using a cloth to wipe up in between, which I find kind of satisfying, so that's why I left it in for this video. Just going back, which then I realized I really don't, like I said, I didn't really need a perfect blend there, so I was just being fussy for no really reason. Okay, and now I wanted to add a little bit more interest to those. So I just grabbed a piece of copy paper, covered up that sky, and I am going to grab the ground espresso and just put a little bit on my work surface, which I didn't even need that much. Spritz some water with it, mix it up with a paintbrush, and then add that to my acrylic block, and then just do some splattering. You can do heavy, you can do medium, light, whatever you want to do with splatter. And now I added a little bit of water to react the oxide ink. And then I'm going to do the same thing with broken china. I'm going to lay it on my work surface, squirt it with water, and then flick it on with my paintbrush. And I put it in a box because you will make a mess when you do this for sure. And now I end up only using one of the leaves, so I showed you which one I did, which is I used the YR23, YR24, and YR27. And now I wanted to add even more splatter and sparkle to my background, so I'm using a little bit of Lawn Fawn liquid Stardust and splattering some of that on, and that gives it a lot of pretty shimmer. For my sentiment, I actually use one of Jamie's digital stamps. This comes in the Farmer's Market set, and it says, "You're the pick of the patch," which I thought was perfectly matched and paired with this. See all that really pretty shimmer from that liquid Stardust? So I just printed out that sentiment, and then I die cut it out using Honeybee's sentiment banner stamp or die cuts. And now I'm just playing with the placement of where I wanted all my pretty pumpkins and my little candy corn. I thought that the candy corn should be flying today. And then all the little vines. So this is just an estimate of where I'm going to put it all. I just wanted to see how it would fit before I started building. Putting glue to paper. And now I wanted the sentiment to match, of course, my design. So I'm going to go with V12, but then I thought that V12 wasn't dark enough, so I grabbed my V15 and added the purple to that. And I liked the way that that all matched. I often use Copic markers in order to color my sentiment so I can get the exact match to my cards. And now I'm putting some down with liquid glue, some of the pumpkins, and then I'm pop dotting some others so I get a different dimension so it looks like they're in different rows is what I was thinking. So I just kind of alternate those, and then I'm using a thicker pop dot for the squares, and then for this last pumpkin when I put it on the edge, I'm using a thinner one so that gives it even more different dimensional sizes. And then I'm popping up my witch as well. And then did you see I added that other pumpkin right on top of the pop dotted one, and then I just put a little pop dot underneath it for some support. And now I'm going to pop up my broomstick, which I'm just cutting from my pop dot squares. You can use every single piece of the foam, even the negative spaces. So I just cut one that fit that broom nicely. And I decided to also pop up my sentiment. So this card definitely has lots and lots of dimension, which I absolutely love. And then I'm going to add some of those vines. I'm just lifting gently with my tweezers. And once in a while, if you'll notice, I'll put a little bit of the liquid adhesive on the front of the vine, and then I'm going to just hold it behind with the tweezer with the tweezer in order to get it to stick there. Just hold it for a couple seconds. Add some of those vines on the bottom, some of my acorns. I actually love doing this. I love building scenes. This is my favorite creative part, is coming up with ideas of putting different stamp sets together and then just building a scene. That is my thing. At least right now it is. I love that. And sometimes I just like overdo it and my mind goes a little crazy. I'll get all sorts of sets, and yeah. I think about these sometimes at night in bed too. Does anybody do that? Dream of stamps? So this is where I was putting a little bit less dimension on this last pumpkin in the corner. And adding that behind again. You just have to hold it there for a couple seconds. And I didn't like the sentiment. It didn't have enough support in the center. So I went ahead and I cut some of those pop dots and gave it a little bit more support. And then the leaf, I wasn't sure if I would like what it would look like. I was thought about putting extra ones around and make it look like it was blowing in the wind, but I thought maybe it was getting a little too busy. And now I'm using my clear Wink of Stella and just adding a little shimmer to all of the black areas on the hat and her outfit. More shimmer and shine, the better. There, just jazz that up. And I kept on getting the sentiment on a little crooked, so I worked on that a little bit. For the frame of my card, I cut a 9 4" panel. And now I'm just using my purples again, the V15, to go around the edge so that matches perfectly. And this is what my frame is going to be. My card panel was slightly smaller. It is 8 3/4 by 3 3/4. So then it has that 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Just adhere that down to the frame. And now for my card base, I cut a 9 by 8 piece of cardstock, 110-pound weight, and then I'm going to score it at the 4-inch mark. And that gives us a 9 by 4 card base. And I'm just going to adhere that right to it. And now I'm going to use my friend Neha's Jewels in metallic gold and Queen of the Night. She is on Etsy with Crescent Creation. I'll have that linked below as well. For the gold ones, I'm using the upside, which is a pretty diamond, and then just adding the gems all around. And then I was playing a little bit thinking that would look cute to make it look like it's in motion. And then I thought, you know what? I really like the card the way it is. And if I stamped on there and made a mistake, I would be sad. So I didn't do that. Now I'm just placing the jewels like I said. And then I just have to adhere those down. And then there we have it. All the shimmer, shine. And I love this card. I like the brightness of it. I like the stamp sets, the sentiment. I love it all. So thank you so much to Jamie for having me as October's guest designer. I've had so much fun. I love your stamp sets. I love your digital, your clear. I love it all. I love your shop. You have fast turnaround, and yeah, I love it. So thank you so much, Jamie. I appreciate it. Everybody, check out the links below. Go visit Jamie, visit Neha, visit Stacy, and build each other up, ladies. Let's build each other up. The way that we all have been this last year, we just need to spread the love. And thank you so much for stopping in and visiting with me today. If you have not subscribed, I would really appreciate it. Like and comment. I like to hear from everybody. Find me at Instagram at Katahdin Crafts and on Facebook as well. Thank you and happy crafting.